Hi, everybody. You're listening to Let's Talk ETC. I'm your host, Carlo V, along with my co-host, Dr. Christian Severino. I just want to thank everybody for tuning in to this week's show. We got a lot of to talk about. There's some big stuff happening this week, and there's a whole ton to talk about. But we're going to try to hit on some of the bigger issues and bigger events that have been going on in the community, Ethereum Classic community, as well as the blockchain community, Bitcoin community, etc. So we got some SEC stuff that kind of spooked everybody a little bit. Some Ethereum hack stuff that went on in reference to some of the multi-sigs for some of the ICOs that have been going on. Luckily, there was a white hat group, just to give you a brief overview, there's a white hat group that came in and kind of took some of the funds and put them away for safekeeping. So there's an ETC event in China that preliminary discussions are starting to be had. I don't have too much information to talk about that later with you guys, but for anybody listening, just to give you a heads up that some plans are in the works for an ETC event in China, possibly Beijing, Shanghai, or maybe somewhere else, maybe Hong Kong. Nothing's been finalized with that yet, but these are things that are being talked about right now that we're pretty excited about. And then the big one on everybody's mind is the looming Bitcoin fork, August 1st, Bitcoin Cash. It looks like it's going to be listed on some exchanges. It's, Bitcoin's up, some other things are down. Is Bitcoin going to go way down and drag everything down? Who knows? As you guys know, it's impossible to time the markets or, figure out what's going up, what's going down sometimes. But on to the main point, the important stuff for today's show, which is really our two fantastic guests that have the opportunity to join us today, two team members from the Growth and Deep team, which is building IOHK Scala client. Going to have the beta coming out first week of August, or I should say early August, since development stuff is sometimes difficult to time to an exact date, but they're really working hard and getting a whole ton done, and we expect the beta out in early August, and we're really excited about it. So I'd like to welcome Lukasz and Radek to the show. Lukasz, thanks so much for joining us. Radek, thanks so much for joining us. Really happy to have you guys on here.
Thank you, Carlo. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
So what country are you guys in? Just out of curiosity, first of all.
We are from Poland.
Okay.
It's in Europe for those listening to that.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, so you're both in Poland. Okay, gotcha.
No, Poland, don't worry, guys. Poland's famous enough. People know Poland's in Europe. I hope.
Programmers, I guess.
But so for anybody listening, what we're going to be doing on the show is leading up to the release of the IOHK Scala client, which, by the way, we've got a couple of names on the table. There was a Reddit post. Some community members suggested Amber, Helix, there's Phoenix, I think Kaleidia, Cascade. There's a few different suggestions, but for me personally, I like the name Helix. So what do you think? What do you think, Christian? Helix?
Oh God, yeah. Nosebleed? No, just kidding. I don't know. Helix would be fine. I don't know how these things get decided.
Well, you know what? I don't want to get in trouble and call it the Helix client prematurely, so we'll just call it the Scala IOHK Scala client for now.
Okay.
So anyway, so we're going to be having a couple of guests from the Growth and Deep team every week leading up to the release of the Scala client, and maybe have a big group chat on the release day for anybody that wants to. We could pop some champagne or something like that, because you guys have worked so hard. But so you guys are Poland, Lukasz, why don't you guys tell us a little bit about your backgrounds, kind of the long story, how you got into tech from way back when. Lukasz, I guess you could go ahead first.
Okay, so I think I started pretty usual way with just the regular HTML files. I don't even remember what was like the impulse to start doing that. But I just got interested in writing a really simple static web pages. And that was actually like my first start with programming, or well, HTML is not programming, but with tech in general. And then at some point, I came across Pascal and Delphi. So I was amazed by how easy it is to create like window applications and drag and drop buttons and all different stuff to units, bind the actions to them, and so on. So I was really amazed by that, and I think that's actually what like got me into programming, like really got me into it. So I was just playing with it a bit for some time. Then I came across PHP. I hate it now, but then I didn't realize that I will hate it someday in the future. So I was also creating some simple web pages using PHP. And then at some day, I came across Java, and for me, it was like, whoa, objects, and like in real world, there are also objects, and it all like, it just makes sense. So I was really into Java at the time. And I started doing first some applications on my own, trying to play with it a little bit, or later trying to create something useful. And then sometime after that, I became a Java developer, doing my studies in the meantime. So for some time, I was a Java developer. And then at some point, I came across a video on YouTube. It was pretty short video, I don't know, 10, maybe 20 minutes. And the guy was doing a presentation, like kind of teaser presentation about Scala. I watched it, and I immediately thought, whoa, that's it. That's it. That's the language I want to learn. It's just so much better than Java. It's so much more concise, and I just like it. Like from the first sight, I saw Scala. I knew that's the language I want to use. So shortly after that, I joined Scala C, which is a Polish company that specializes in Scala, and I've been there for quite some time already.
Oh, yeah, wow, that's impressive, Lukasz. So before you started to work on the ETC Scala client, you were already committed to Scala. You loved it, and you had deep experience before that. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's true. For the past few years, I've been focused almost entirely on Scala. So I was trying to avoid Java as much as possible.
Gotcha. Sorry, I was cutting out there. How about you, Radek? How did you kind of fall into technology? What's your background story? Kind of all that.
So I guess the motivation was that back in the day I had a really crappy computer and I had all those problems with running games, you know. So I started digging up into it, what I need to do, how to change the configuration of memory and things like that to be able to run them. And so
you were programming out of like necessity almost.
Yeah, you might say that. But actually, the start into programming was kind of unusual one, because I found a guide of how to write a game in a very, very, very old booklet magazine about games, and it was actually in assembly language, and that was my first language that I learned. And for some time, I didn't even realize that there are some higher level languages. I just coded everything in assembly. And then gradually I moved on to C++. Somewhere on the way I licked on things like Pascal and PHP. Not very pleasant experiences. Then finally, when I moved on to when I started in the university, I picked up on Python and fell in love, and almost everything, at least things that didn't need to run fast, I coded in Python. So yeah, but as far as my education, I didn't actually study computer science strictly. You know, I'm a Pink Floyd fan, so naturally I don't believe in organized education. I was afraid that education would kill my passion for programming. So I chose a major in telecommunications. I wanted to learn about the internet and all the distributed stuff. But I found out that I had to learn too much about cables and frequencies and so on. So yeah, so I got pretty soon I got bored with that. I started a job, and when I saw how different and unpractical the things I was learning at the universities where I simply dropped out.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, but actually my first job in IT was not a programmer's job. I was kind of an analyst. On one hand, I had to deal with clients' demands, and then I had to also configure and take care of our deployments. But oftentimes I found out that, and actually I took this job because of my experience with the university. I just felt that, you know, maybe I should have chosen strict computer science. Probably I'm not that good of a programmer anymore compared to other people in my age. So I chose this analyst job. But soon I found out that the software we were selling had lots of problems, and getting programmers to solve those problems took very long times. But fortunately, I had access to the code repository, so I just started going into code, and instead of writing a ticket, I just went to the programmer and, hey, go fix this line, right? So yeah, and that's how I was quickly spotted by the programmers, by the manager there of the programming team, and I was just switched to a full programmer's position. And unfortunately,
so so you're saying, so even though you didn't have a degree in computer science, and even though you weren't hired to do programming, your manager noticed your skills, and so he switched you over just because he was impressed. Okay.
Yeah, you might say. Yeah.
You might say that.
Yeah.
So
I didn't want to.
Go ahead.
So anyway, unfortunately for me, the language that was used at our company was Java. Mm-hmm. I never had the fondness for this language. I felt like it doesn't really offer that much as compared to C++. And then, you know, it's just, for this a bit more effort coding in C++, you had this much better experience of being close to the machine and things running fast. But soon after that, I learned about Scala. There was actually a small Scala team in a different department of that company, and I started pursuing this language, and soon I was moved to that team. And that's been like 5 years ago. So for the last 5 years, I've been coding predominantly in Scala.
Wow.
So by the way,
you know the high level language Scala, and you also are very proficient with the lowest level. So that's pretty impressive.
At least I used to be. But yeah, you know, actually, Ethereum, EVM, you know, actually, because I was actually the major programmer for the EVM part in our client, and actually I felt that this knowledge of assembly really paid off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, and also what is worth mentioning, because I'm not sure if it is known, both me and Lukasz work for the same Polish company, Scala C, which is then kind of hired by IOHK.
Okay, good.
So what's kind of we have the tech programming story. How did you guys kind of fall into crypto? Is it before developing this IOHK Scala client for ETC, or were you guys interested in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and Ethereum and other stuff before kind of getting into this? What's Lukasz, any like rabbit hole story behind that?
So I actually knew about the Bitcoin for quite some time. I knew how it works and how the blockchain works.
You just didn't know any.
I knew for quite some time.
Yeah.
But I wasn't really too much interested into it until last year when I came across the Ethereum white paper or maybe some video in YouTube. I don't even remember what was first. So I read the paper and then I thought, whoa, this is great. Like the real virtual machine running in the network, similar way to Bitcoin and with the blockchain. So I thought that was great. And I got really interested in Ethereum by the time. And shortly after that, which is very fortunate kind of coincidence, IOHK showed up. And like I was, the first thing I had was like, whoa, I had to do this. That's the project I want to join.
Yeah.
Here I am working on the Grothendieck team.
I see. So that happened that all happened pretty quick. It was like you knew about Bitcoin and blockchain, boom, you read Ethereum white paper, boom, IOHK, boom, you're developing a client for the Ethereum competitor.
Yeah, so actually for the blockchain, it was not that boom. I knew about it for quite some time. I just wasn't too much interested. And only after a few years, I learned about Ethereum.
I see.
And then was the boom with IOHK.
Right. How about you, Radek? What do you have a kind of a rabbit hole story? You knew about it for a while or brand new? What's up?
So actually, I haven't even heard about Ethereum before being kind of starting the recruitment process for IOHK. I knew about Bitcoin for quite a while, and I was kind of impressed by the cryptological mechanisms involved there, and that's actually why I pursued this. I mean, this really happened by accident. Just that our company's boss mentioned to everyone that, hey, there's a interesting cryptocurrency project going on. Does anyone want to apply? So I did. Because I just wanted to learn about how this works. I also wanted to be close with anything that relies on maths, you know, because I always felt good about my ability to comprehend that sort of stuff. So yeah, but then we were given a kind of a task based on the Scorex framework, which is probably familiar to you guys. And only sometimes.
Can you repeat that? What framework? I'm sorry.
The Scorex framework.
Oh,
the
Scala framework. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, we did a challenge, sort of a challenge based on Scorex, and only somewhere along the way I realized about why we're doing this, that there's a thing called Ethereum and how it works, and yeah, I was really impressed.
So, you know what? I wasn't going to ask you this. I didn't even occur to me. Is the Scala client, does it use some of the code from ScoreX?
So Lukasz, I think there was some crypto stuff there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we still have it as a dependency.
Okay.
We are not using any code that's like strictly from the ScoreX framework.
Okay. So ScoreX is a beautiful rewrite of the Bitcoin software system that's more flexible, and you could easily make modifications. And I believe it's even more efficient than the Bitcoin core. So it looked interesting to me.
Yeah, it looks interesting. It's kind of flexible, and I think it's very good for prototyping different blockchain solutions. But just for our client, we felt like it would be better and beneficial for the client to write it from scratch, and we didn't know quite, what is required to implement it, and we didn't know which parts should we take from Scorex, and ones we do not need. So we decided not to use it at all. and just write everything from scratch. So at the beginning, we also considered integrating with ScholarX at later point when we knew what we want from it. Then we decided just to go with a client without it.
I see. Okay, good.
Now, do you guys, I guess that's kind of your story about how you first started getting into crypto. I know Lukasz knew about blockchain for a while and then, really got into it with this project. And Radek, you gave us your background as well. Are you guys now like really into blockchain and crypto? And how much do you believe that it's the future of a million different things? Or are you guys still a little bit skeptical about it, I guess I should say? What do you think, Lukasz?
So I'm very much into blockchain. And as a proof of that, I even have a miner on my balcony.
Really? So you got deep.
But for the second part of the question, if I think it's going to be the future, I don't know. I hope so. I think it's a great piece of software. But what will be the future? No one knows.
Yeah, that's true. Pragmatic answer. What about you, Radek? What do you think?
Well, I still believe we're like pioneers, for Bitcoin, Ethereum, or any cryptocurrency to be the future. It really has to reach the masses, and it still has only reached the nerds. So yeah, I think we're doing a good thing in the right direction, but this will keep evolving and evolving. And I don't know what's going to happen, but it's great to be a part of this story.
So I guess I'm drinking a lot more Kool-Aid about blockchain or crypto than you guys are, because on a scale of like 1 to 10, do I think it's the future? I'm like at like a 9.9. Actually, that's an interesting question. What, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being it's definitely the future, 1 being it's gone tomorrow, where do you think you are, Lukasz?
I'd say around 7, 8.
Okay, all right. That's right. You have the miner. You have the miner in your balcony, so you're drinking some Kool-Aid. What about you, Radek?
Yeah, I definitely say 8 or 9. I mean, blockchain. Generally, yes. I'm just not sure about if it's any of the current implementations of it. How much evolution is ahead of us?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I definitely have obviously the chains that I believe in that I believe will be the future or part of the future. But I agree, it's hard to say what the actual future is going to hold and what the chain that implements well and develops properly is going to be. But all I can do is work on what I believe in and see what happens. So how do you guys feel about the development of the ETC Scala client? Has it been good learning experience and bumpy, not so bumpy? How was it working with the rest of the team? Tell us about how it was you guys working together.
So for me, it was definitely challenging, and I've learned a lot during this time when developing the ETC client. There were quite a few things that I didn't expect to be so difficult to do, or maybe not even difficult, but kind of tricky.
Like what? What are some examples of things that surprised you?
What are some examples? So one thing that was tricky to work with was the yellow paper, because it turned out it only contains the state as like the most recent state of the art of Ethereum. And for the actual client, we also had to implement the logic that was before the forks and the changes that occurred on the blockchain. And to find information about those, it was not so easy. It turned out that the best source of information is GitHub issues and going through pull requests and trying to find what changed in which EIP. So like to conclude, I think Ethereum kind of lacks documentation in one place. It was not that easy to try to find what changed in which EIP.
Okay. Yeah, no, tell me if you agree with this. So my impression is that the yellow paper is you know, a large majority of the explanation that you need of the architecture. But then if the English is somewhat can be ambiguous, and so you need to look at source code, right? The source code is the final authority, or that answers any questions you have about how it operates. So between the yellow paper and the client existing old source code, you could kind of answer all your questions. Is that how you guys, the two sources you guys use?
That's how we did it usually. But it could be much easier if it was just written somewhere in one place, just with plain English words, what changed, so that you don't have to look for that in the pull request. Kind of trying to guess what are the changes that have been finally implemented. Because usually on the issue on GitHub, there's the proposal and then the discussion, a lot of comments and so on. And at the end, you don't know what has finally been implemented in the client. So to take a look at the code. So maybe it's not hard, but it just takes time and a lot of focus to do it right.
Tedious, yeah.
Yeah,
sure. Wait, Radek, I'm curious. So you said you learned assembly, that was your first language, and then you learned C and C++. So did you get an opportunity to learn all about the low-level virtual machine opcodes and all that low-level details, so that you could consider yourself an expert on the whole architecture?
Yes, in fact, yeah, I might call myself an expert on this. I believe I was the main developer for this part of the client, and yeah, well, it was, I gotta say, it was really fun and challenging. You know, getting this all of the blockchain from the start, all of the transactions, finding those bugs along the way. Well, it was really quite an experience. And I have to say that I really enjoyed having the yellow paper around me. I know it has issues. It's often cited as very hard to comprehend, and I'm not saying it's not, but then again, you have to see that it's quite short. It's a quite short paper for such a whole lot of functionality, and quite a concise one.
Yes.
And I would say it's just really handy to have it around. Well, one thing I was missing from it initially was that there's quite a lot of mathematical symbols there, and I was missing like a single page reference to know what they are. But at some point, I just started to, you know, I'll be waking up in the middle of the night, and I would know perfectly what that symbol was. So yeah. Sometimes I think like this yellow paper is kind of even more familiar to me than the code I write. So this is definitely an interesting experience.
Yeah, sometimes people have tricky questions, I think, and they look for subject matter experts for these architectures. So if you know at a deep level the intricate details, I would think that you're going to be in demand, and a lot of people are going to want to find you, to pick your brain about different things.
Well, here I am, but I was thinking, because we found some bugs in the yellow paper actually. So either a wrong symbol was used, or there was some ambiguity. I mean, I definitely submitted one issue. I think one of our other teammates submitted some. These were like definite bugs. There's still some places, and I could point them out, where some sort of ambiguous language is used, and I'd really love that to improve. But we're really striving for this beta, so probably at some later time. But there's another problem here, because yellow paper is really about Ethereum hard fork, and Ethereum Classic doesn't have yellow paper as such. Yellow paper does keep is updated with the latest EIPs that are introduced into Ethereum hard fork protocol. But the ECIPs that are there for Ethereum Classic, well, yellow paper is totally ignoring those. So maybe we need to fork the paper too. I don't know.
Oh, we need a yellow paper fork, you're saying,
Yeah.
to capture the divergence. Yes, I see what you mean. Good point.
Yeah. So now in reference to the IOHK Scala client, do you guys see anything interesting on the horizon that what are some interesting things you'd like to see from the client in the future? I know the beta is going to be just command line, and there's some interesting stuff that maybe IOHK can do or would like to do with Daedalus and some other things. What are some other interesting things that you think you personally would like to see the client be doing in the future, potentially, even if it's not necessarily on the drawing board, just things that you would like to see?
This may not be the answer that you expect, because I would really like to see and would like to have some time to clean it up a bit and to pay the debts. Because, for example, in peer discovery, we implemented a simplified version of it. So that's something that I would personally like to focus on. And I think there are also some other things that may require our attention after the beta. So one of those is also the RPC API, that there are certainly areas that we can improve the speed. Because for me personally, it's a bit too slow. Or maybe not a bit too slow, but it just could be faster. So these are the things that I like to focus after the beta.
That's good. I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah.
And also I think isn't that common though? Isn't that normal? Like you were saying, you guys shared that you didn't know at the beginning whether you should use Score X. So when you're developing a new piece of software, you almost have to do it 2 times, right? The first time to develop the architecture, design it, and then you come back a second time and you learn from your mistakes.
And that's usually what developers would like to do, come back and try to clear it up a bit. But on the other hand, there are managers who would like to implement new features, new integrations.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I always think about like the Linux kernel. Linus, he made his first version, and then he's had 20 years to keep perfecting it and do everything he wants. I think a lot of programmers kind of have that dream of making the perfect code and rewriting things.
Yeah, but I think it just doesn't exist.
What about you? Sorry, go ahead.
From the more exciting features, I think, as you mentioned, the Daedalus integration, maybe one of those.
Yeah.
Can you also, wait, for people that don't know, what is Daedalus?
Daedalus wallet,
Daedalus.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it's another project of IOHK. It's basically a wallet.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a wallet, and there's going to be some potentially some HD wallet features and some other things that are on the drawing board as well that could be really interesting as far as I don't want to reveal too much. Got to see what we can and can't talk about, but there's definitely some cool stuff in the pipeline.
What did you say? HD wallet? What's that?
Yeah.
What do you mean HD?
This is a bit more of a complicated stuff than.
Okay. Well, just what does it mean? What does it stand for? Can you just say that?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a good way to say it. It's like for multi-accounting and having multiple coins, multiple accounts within the same sub account of crypto. And I'll think of a more concise answer, but I definitely like to hear also what Radek sees as far as interesting things on the horizon for the ETC Scala client, and also Daedalus as well, maybe some integrations and stuff like that.
So I have to totally support what Lukasz said. I mean, for me, it's not about the features, it's about making our clients more robust. Speed is one thing. We have to compete with other clients like Get and Parity that are currently faster than we are, and we need to keep this friendly competition going. But also we need to gain more confidence in the correctness of our code. So far, the best tests that we've done are really syncing up with the chain, with the main chain, with also the modern test network. And currently we are trying to make our clients compliant with the Ethereum test suite. It's a separate repository on GitHub that has lots and lots of tests defined in JSON files. So currently we're quite close to having those tests pass for the virtual machine, but there are quite a few other categories that we should look at next.
Gotcha.
So,
now you were talking about speed. Now it's my understanding that Rust is competes in the same space as C and C++. You can write low-level code that's fast with Rust. So can Scala compete on speed with the parity client, for example?
Also, hold on, before I forget to do this in the show, if there's anyone listening that was interested. So this is definitely one of the reasons I couldn't say what it stood for before. I totally forgot that. So HD stands for hierarchical deterministic.
Okay.
And that's the hierarchy, I guess, refers to what I was saying about the wallet and the sub-wallet. And this is from BIP32, and the exact definition is it says it allows for creating of child keys from parent keys in a hierarchy. And it said HD protocol. Okay, so anyone that was interested in hearing the rest of that, but go ahead. Sorry.
So yeah, back to your question, Christian. I think Rust and Go have that kind of advantage of the Scala that they're just result in faster code. But I don't think that is that much of an issue here. I think we really need to just look at our solutions and I think we can get quite close to what's or even better than what Parity and Geth achieve. And besides, if we find out that Scala is a limitation, there is a project called Scala Native, which compiles Scala code directly to machine code. So we may try to look at that.
Yeah, that was what I was going to mention next. Since you said you liked Python, you may be familiar with the common practice of writing C extensions that you can integrate with your Python code. So I can imagine there's no reason you couldn't make an extension for the bottlenecks in C or something else, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's one of the ideas. But well, I was the name JNI, Java Native Interface, came to my mind briefly, but let's forget it.
Okay. Can I also, before I forget, I wanted to ask you, so people have an understanding of the differences in these languages. It's my understanding so I've heard Scala is better for concurrency. If you have several cores, several CPUs, that Scala the code is great for that. Is that correct? That's an advantage that it has?
In comparison with Java?
In comparison with like Go and Rust, it's more compatible with multiple cores. Is that correct? Did I hear that correct?
So to be honest, I'm not too familiar with Go and Rust and the possibilities of concurrency in those languages. Okay. But in Scala, well, it's running on the JVM, so the possibilities are almost the same. Plus, for Scala, well, and also Java, there's the IOHK framework, and that's the framework that we are using, and it makes it really easy to work with concurrency, and it really makes things much easier than working with threads directly and using logs and so on.
So was your style functional for the most part in Scala? Would you say?
I think in our repository there is a single var, which is a variable. Besides factors, that means we try to be as much functional as possible.
I think the reason that people think Scala is great for concurrency and multiple cores, I think it's the functional nature is what makes it easy to be parallelized.
And the way you write Scala code, usually you try to use as much immutable code as possible.
Yeah. All right. So we've covered a lot of the Scala client. We've talked about the potential names. We've learned a little bit about you and your backgrounds. We've learned kind of what you want to see in the future. Did we miss anything? Carlo, Lukasz, anything else you want to add?
So my favorite question is always, and some of the more grounded people, which I guess I'm definitely not grounded in this industry, but what do you guys think? What are some far off use cases you guys see for cryptocurrency or blockchain in 5 years or 10 years? Any wild scenarios or anything, any kind of crazy use cases you can see in the future, in the distant future?
Replace fiat money.
What are some use cases that you can kind of brainstorm or think of off the top of your head if you had to guess?
So I think that replacing fiat money was definitely a good one. That's is a possibility. Well, right, third world currencies first, and then more and more of the developed world currencies.
That would be a big thing. Other than that, I can think of anything off the top of my head that's not already up there.
The whole world could be running on Scala, right? If the whole world starts using the Ethereum Classic, they'll be using your code.
Yeah, that's my dream one.
What about you, Radek? Any crazy use case scenarios you can think of off the top of your head?
No,
Like
it's
5
actually
years, 10 years?
it's hard for me to go with anything crazy because all the ones that I think of would serve as some sort of use cases to bind an agreement between parties, And I think that at the end of the day, there's always the real world question, whether the legal system of your country recognizes that.
Let's pretend nothing
is a conflict, right?
Let's pretend there's nothing in the way. No Uncle Sam, no crazy government, nobody's in the way. What can blockchain do if you could do it?
I don't know.
If you can dream it.
Order pizza on the blockchain.
Huh?
Order pizza on the blockchain.
Order pizza on the blockchain.
I think that's been done already.
Yeah, I think that was the first thing ever.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the first transaction ever, the pizza. So how about smart cars, self-driving cars? Is all this going to get tied into the blockchain somehow?
Maybe, and also that's the whole thing of IoT.
Yeah,
that's right.
Bring something interesting. But personally, well, I don't see a good reason why IoT couldn't be centralized, because if you have IoT devices in your home, you can also have the server for them in your home. Why the need of blockchain? But maybe I'm just not too much into the subject of.
Oh well, I can answer that. So one idea is that in the future, people are going to want to data mine. They're going to want access to that data, and so people are going to buy and sell the IoT data. And so once you have commerce, then you want the trustless system, a blockchain system. That's one reason I've heard. So.
Yeah. I guess it would also avoid the honeypots of data and stuff like that, correct?
Yeah. So good.
So smart cars, smart drones, smart homes, IoT, blockchain is all that going to be on blockchain? You think so, Christian?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I just wrote a paper about the blockchain systems replacing the web potentially. So,
oh yeah, that's right. I saw that pop up. You for anyone listening, Christian, you got to put that in the description for anyone to check out.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think so as well. I think it would be kind of weird if all of those things were, if IoT was from some centralized database. I think that would be strange. But then again, I really love blockchain and cryptocurrency, so I'm probably just very, very biased on that.
I think that for many such contracts that we name here and could think of, what we really lack, at least in Ethereum, is some way to access big data from around the world. And there were some proposals made for it. What was it called? Some sort of like temporary data stored on the blockchain.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I think there's some things popping up very soon that are going to be utilizing stuff like that. I don't want to say too much, but I think there's some cool things coming out that are something like that.
No, but just to address your point, you're right. The blockchains like ETC needs to. This is what I actually put this in the paper that I just posted. So yeah, you need other additional storage systems to supplement the blockchain system, like the interplanetary file system (IPFS).
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, if you would need additional services like that, and together they could make a compelling, complete alternative to the world.
Yeah, there's also SIA and storage as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys have heard of those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
SIA is very good. Storage, good team as well.
Yeah, but Lukasz is right. The blockchain provides the trustless property, but it's too expensive to use a blockchain system for all of your storage.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. No, SIA does something where they just utilize the token so that they're actually storing your files encrypted across the network of other people's hard drives or something like that.
Yeah,
so
but it's something outside the blockchain.
Yeah, it's not actually the data inside the blockchain. That would be impossible.
Right. Just the hashes, I'm guessing.
Right, exactly. Just the hashes of the data.
Mm-hmm.
But so I think we covered, background. We covered how they got into tech, into blockchain, Scala client, crazy future use cases. Are there any topics or anything in reference to the IOHK Scala client that you guys think we should touch upon or let everybody know about? Anything? What would you guys like to let the people know before we sign off here shortly?
There's a beta coming. Stay tuned.
Okay, gotcha. How about Radek? Anything?
Don't break it.
Don't break it. Okay.
Well, I'm just so happy that there's deep subject matter experts, or the number of subject matter experts is growing in the ETC community. So I'm very glad that you guys did the hard work of reading the yellow paper for weeks, months, and looking through the code. That's great. I'm sure that you'll be a valuable resource in the future. And
for anybody listening, if you're watching or listening on YouTube, post some suggestions for what you'd like to name the ETC Scala client. I'll copy paste those over to maybe a thread, and everyone can talk and debate and think about it. All right. So again, Lukasz, Radek, thanks so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it. And we'd love to have you guys on again sometime, and we're really looking forward to everything you guys have worked on. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Carlo. Thanks, Christian.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, guys, for everyone out there listening, thanks so much again. Tune in next week. Take care.
Bye. Bye-bye.
If you are passionate about anything related to Ethereum Classic and you have